Thinking about buying a franchise? Then the How to Buy a Franchise show is just for you. Here's your host, Dr. John Hayes.
Tariq, welcome to the How to Buy a Franchise show.
Thank you very much, John. It's a pleasure.
I know you're a busy guy. You got lots going on. You're getting lots of awards and you're developing lots of new franchises. And I want to talk to you about several things related to edible arrangements. Before we talk about international, let's talk about the millennial franchisee. I wrote an article just recently that the International Franchise Association published, and of course it appears also at howtobuyafranchise.com. Franchisors are missing a huge opportunity today because the millennial generation, that younger generation coming up, which is going to overpower the baby boomer generation, we're going to become very old men quickly and we're going to be out of the picture. The millennials are going to take over. Yep. But franchisors are not necessarily ready for that. What do you think about it?
Yeah, they're not ready, and it's just something going on. It's a phenomenon going on within edible arrangements right now that we're spending a lot of time, not only on our product evolution to get ready, or we have been doing a great job with that customer, but more the presentation, because there's this whole concept that we have presented our franchise a certain way that's carried on from the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and we have this Uber effect happening in technology, but we're not seeing that happening within the franchise model. And it's something that I've started the journey on a year and a half ago, and we're going through that evolution of taking our brand and making technology the basis and putting the brand on top of that technology. Kind of the ecosystem is based on technology. It's because that's what they understand. I mean, my children, they grew up with a device. And kind of the millennials, they're very comfortable in it. They're very self-reliant. They don't need as much instruction. The excitement level is very different. How you approach them, how you win them over, and everything. So it's something that the brands have to go and whatever they have to do. Luckily, we've hired people to help us evolve our brand. And my next generation is getting involved, so that helps a lot.
Yes.
So and the opportunity, like you just said, the opportunity is phenomenal, but we have to adjust to it to be able to take advantage of it.
So give me a hands-on type of example of where the technology is lacking and isn't up to the standards of the millennials, or that the millennials would not use some aspect of technology, and how are you fixing that?
So, everybody focuses on kind of getting a franchisee. I think it's more, the attention has to be spent more once the franchisee's on board, on how are you helping that franchisee. So, the millennials, or kind of the next generations, they're going to be very self-reliant when it comes to technology. They're comfortable with technology. You don't have to train them. So we've created this technology called Inspire. And what Inspire does is they always called it training, they always called it different names. It says, no, we just have to inspire people. We just have to inspire the franchisee, because they really go and, usually wow us with what level they take whatever we're doing to. So we call it a training system, a brand standard system, where they literally are spending time in front of this terminal. We no longer have to train you. We have to just talk about what makes the brand successful, and then all the training is in this terminal where the franchisee will, search or go through a training session where we're keeping that updated. Now that helps me in two areas. One, my people who are actually starting in my company now, they don't know the old way of doing franchising, and I don't want them to do the old way. And plus, the newer franchisee, the newer generation of franchisees, they're not calling. They don't want to call as much. They text a lot more. They go on devices. So this device now it interacts, and they're spending majority of the time on that device on finding out what to do and how to do it, instead of actually calling someone or having field people on the road. And we've just had another technology we're about to launch, which we'll be announcing soon, which it was an aha moment, because we kept doing it the old way. And then, it took me a while to figure out, why do we do it this way? Because that's how it was always done. Even with technology, we would take a paperback system or paper-based system, and we try to automate it. And it just didn't, it was madness.
Yes. So has this reduced the amount of training time?
Not only reduce the amount of training time or the amount of time or money we were spending with field people who would lose your brand consistency the more time they spent in the field. So the more they were out there, the more they would become like what was happening out there and kind of tell you that this is how people are doing it, instead of figuring out how to get people to that brand standard, that consistency that we know works, or the level that we know works. So now we're mostly, so that instead of a person going to train someone, now they're just asking, how can I help? What is missing in this terminal that we can add? And now we made the terminal independent, where it's device agnostic. It's an app on a iPad. It's on a desktop, and so anywhere you can access it and see any aspect of our business. No more of a paper-based operations manual. It is actually a video-based operations manual where you can literally find out why. And not only that, you link to it stories of other franchisees who've shown success. Like, hey, I did it this way. And you can use franchisees. So it's a short video-based system.
So in the old way of franchising, training took how long?
Training never stopped. Because whenever you went out to go visit, you always found, because there's such high turnover. I mean, we're not going to be able to cure our turnover issue. So we would train a franchisee. So John would join our system. He would come for 2 weeks to our corporate headquarters. Initial training. And we train John. But John's really not going to go back and make the burgers. John's going to go train someone else. So there's a certain amount of loss happening right there, because John was trained on a paper system, and then John's running a business. He's got tons of things to do. He's not going to be able to go and sit with people for 2 weeks and train them. The training at the store level usually was hours. So what we did is to say, here's what we need to. We need to train John on being an edible arrangements entrepreneur, not how to make a fruit arrangement. And then we're going to give John technology that he's going to put his people in front of, that person has to complete 6 or 7 or 10 or 11 hours of training at their time. And at the end of completing that training, now they'll be certified. And there's a social component. We connect the training to that person that works for you, not John. So that person feels like, I've completed a certification. And now if he goes from one store of ours to another store, he could take that certificate and say, I have completed training and I'm certified.
He's more valuable, worth more money maybe.
That's it.
So under the old way, it costs so much for a franchisor to create the paper base of training. But now now you're going to videos. So this is more expensive for the franchisor?
The initial expense is there, but is no different than the paper-based system. Because somebody on the paper-based system not only had to create it, then they had to create the binders and then ship the binders out. But the day the binder left your store, your corporate headquarters, it became old.
It was out of date.
It was out of date. So the challenge now was that then you would get a call from a franchisee saying, page 63, this thing is wrong. That's not how you do it. And then how do you update that? You have to send a whole new insert in for the binder. But what do we do now on the video? We can update it in a second. So our cost has gone down. Just what we spent on FedEx charges of sending materials, we spend that amount of money just on the whole system now, instead of the 6 times a year the shipment.
So this is a whole new approach, and certainly conducive to the millennial generation for training by a franchisor. You spend a lot of time with IFA, in different relationships with IFA. How many other franchisors are doing it your way, or what's been the response from the franchisor community?
I think we all, we have some amazing franchisors. I mean, we wouldn't have the success we had if these weren't just some of the best entrepreneurs and some of the best business people on this planet. So, and I've learned most of my stuff from these great people, the Fred DeLucas, and a lot of them that were kind of the trailblazers. So I think everybody's thinking about it. They know they have to change, but what we have to stop is the thinking of trying to take an old system and making it digital. What we have to do is the Uber effect, to say, okay, stop everything, pretend, and that's what I had to do at my corporate headquarters and with my IT team, to say, pretend that we are starting the franchise system today. How would we do it? And that's where the question came. So my discussions with the other CEOs, and as I'm speaking with different people, is to do that. And then we've launched the technology company Naranja to just do that, because I have a lot of passion for franchising. And I wouldn't be where I am without the franchising model, because I would have never been able to raise the money to go build corporate stores because no bank was giving me money. I put fruit in baskets.
Yes.
I mean, go figure. So with that, it's been a great journey. So that's our way of taking the things that we've learned and kind of sharing it with others, and at the same time helping the automation. It has saved us enormous amounts of money, and I think for us, we have to find ways to run our operations economically, because our franchise fee, or our royalties are not going to go up. They're going to be 5%. So what you're relying, or 6% or 7%, we have to rely more on the number of units we build. So if we could turn around and automate operations and make that less intensive, then we can focus more on growing our brand and focus more on the new innovation and taking it to new places. And that's where it used to consume a lot of time maintaining the standard. And you can't blame the franchisee, because on the franchisee side there was always a turnover issue.
Yeah, sure. Check in at howtobuyafranchise.com for all kinds of resources to help you determine if you're a good fit for franchising. If you are a good fit, then which franchise is right for you. I don't sell franchises, but I will educate you about franchising. Look forward to talking to you in the near future.
Thank you for listening to How to Buy a Franchise Show. If you want immediate assistance, visit howtobuyafranchise.com to contact Dr. John Hayes for a free consultation.